This time of year, the last thing I want to do is go outside, but it's the one thing that I know I need to do to help keep me sane. I really do struggle with the shorter days. So the lack of sunlight, it is dark at 4 o'clock and it doesn't get bright until about 8:30, 9 in the morning. Even though I don't want to, I find going outside, and even if it's just pottering about for an hour or two when I can, I always feel better for doing it. So while the garden is asleep coming into winter time, not much needs to be done. There's always a job in my garden that I can do to get some vitamin D, some free therapy, and take a job off my list. Something that I wanted to do this year, but I never got around to doing it, is treat the green algae that pops up in the garden. So either I'm really, really late doing it, or I'm really early for doing it for next year. I absolutely swear by a product that is called Algon. It's like a natural way to remove the green algae that I find that I get on wood. I find that this green algae doesn't lift when you power wash it. Some of it will come off, but I find it's quite stubborn on the raised beds and on the greenhouse. Last year I used this product on the greenhouse and the raised beds and it definitely worked. But this year, I just didn't get around to doing it. You can use this product anytime throughout the year. You dilute it with water. I think it's 1 part Algon to 4 parts water, maybe 5. It's all the information is on the back of the thing. I bought my Algon from Pagola Nurseries in Cavan. You probably follow him on Instagram. It's so relaxing to watch. You can actually use this on pathways and stuff, but I just love it for treating wooden pieces in my garden. So I got a handy spray bottle and just mix it together, and I'm just spraying it on all of the wooden pieces in the garden and giving it a good soak. And you need just a period of dry, so check the weather and see if there is going to be any rain. Thankfully I had a couple of days where there was no rain forecasted, so you let it dry and soak in, and then it's supposed to just work within 2 weeks. Obviously in winter it's going to take a little bit longer to work, and you can repeat the process as well. But as always, if you just subscribe, cheeky subscribe there, and if you follow along, I will obviously show you in future videos how you will see for yourself how much of the algae is gone. So I decided I was gonna do it now, and then if I need to give it a little top up in springtime. But I'm gonna try and get ahead of myself, and maybe it might stop and prevent any more from kind of growing. It's more so the greenhouse that I wanted to just get that green look off. What I like about it is that it is pet friendly and non-toxic. It does say on the bottle though that it can scorch the grass or it can scorch the tip of the leaves of plants. So it does say, however, that I won't kill it. So just something to bear in mind. There are other patio cleaners. I think one of them is called Patio Magic, and when I read the label on that, it was like you must keep your pets in for a couple of days and harmful to this, that and the other. So I don't like using things like this. Algon, I think it must have vinegar in it, so maybe you could do a vinegar solution. I'm not too sure what the ingredients are, but if you have used this before, you probably notice that there is a strong smell of vinegar in it. So I don't know, maybe it is that. If you have a little Google, you might be able to do a DIY cleaner version with some vinegar solution. When it comes to pottering about and doing jobs in the garden in winter, I wanted to just say that you don't have to at all. Winter is definitely a season for cozying up, hibernating and letting things just be. So if you see me pottering in the garden, please don't feel the need to break your slumber or your hibernation. I always say that I want people to feel motivated by videos, but you don't have to do what I'm doing. And the motivation behind me being out in the garden is purely to get a bit of serotonin. Sometimes if I am struggling on a down day, or maybe I'm resisting the urge for a nap because it's only 2 in the afternoon and it feels really dark, I find if I can just do a little hour, and this video was filmed over, a couple of days. So I will just go outside, do a little job, feel a little bit of satisfaction, and hope that I have gotten some solar power from the sun. I read somewhere that this time of year, if you can get outside within like the first few hours upon waking, so if you can if you like maybe walk to work or if you're in daylight with your commute. If you can try and get outside first thing, even though it's grey, it's supposed to massively help your mood as well. Over the years, I have bought the light boxes. I have one of those sad lamps for seasonal affective disorder. I have the alarm clock that gradually wakes you up, but I find getting outside is the one thing that helps me. All those other things I find, yeah, they help, but the one thing that benefits me is getting outside, even when I don't want to do it. I always feel better afterwards. Because of the mild weather that we've been having in November, I've been quite slow putting the garden to bed. There hasn't been much or any frost really, which has been great. There's a couple of dahlias still on the go, but I am starting to just cut them back and slowly put the garden to bed. I think I remember last year was cooler and I was a bit more, I think, on the ball with, mulching and cutting back the dahlias and things like that. But I've definitely been a bit slower putting it to bed, and it's definitely down to the mild weather that we've been having. A couple of videos back, also if you want to see any previous garden videos, I do have a playlist on the channel where it's just the garden videos. So if you are only interested in garden content and not so much home or craft or DIY, then I'll pop a card to that playlist where you can watch previous videos. Now this year, I have less leaves. I said a couple of videos back that some of the branches that were starting to kind of touch the house and stuff had been trimmed by the council. And as a result, while I still have lovely leaves that I can collect and make some leaf mold, I don't have the mountain of leaves that I would normally have. I've noticed over the years that leaves can be a bit of a controversial topic. Do you know what? Each to their own. Whether you want to just sweep them and bag them up, or compost them, use them as a mulch, or make leaf mold. There is loads of uses for them. They're also great little hibernation corners for any bugs wanting to overwinter. I find what works best for me is using them as mulch. I do collect 1 or 2 bags of wet leaves and I bag them up in a plastic bag, make sure they're nice and moist. Tie the bag up, add a few air holes, and I let that bag rot away for a couple of months. And then in summertime, that will be nice and moldy and you can use it as a mulch. It'll be like a leaf mold, like loads of fungus and goodness will grow. But I find I mostly I'll blow it into the kind of woodland corner. If there's already leaves in the flower beds, I just leave them to rot down. They're their own mulch. And then any of the ones that are on pathways, I will blow them and mow them, blow them and mow them. And then I will sprinkle those leaf cuttings that are nice and fine. I'll pop them around the trees in the little woodland corner or on a flower bed. My lawnmower came with an attachment that I can't actually find, but it's a mulch attachment. So you can take the box off and you put this spreader on it. And yeah, you can mow the leaves and it'll mulch it onto the surface. I find it kind of does that anyway. So you can leave your leaves on the grass. And Monty Dunn said it in the last episode of this season's Gardener's World about leaves, that if it's on the grass, you can just leave it and it'll die down and it will enhance your grass for next year. So I've kind of done that in the front where I've blown it onto the grass where I have the little meadow patch, which I haven't cut actually yet. I'll mow the leaves. I also have my lawnmower on a higher setting, so I've raised it so not to damage, try not damage the grass underneath. And as I'm mowing, lots of the finely cut leaf clippings actually go into the grass. And then I just use the rest of it as a mulch around the base of any trees that I have in the garden. I normally try to do everything all at once and the whole job has to be complete on the day. But something that I've learned to do is just give myself grace and actually just find the satisfaction in just doing one little thing. So not every leaf needs to be picked up. The garden does not have to look perfect and tidy and clean I think when you do things with the motivation to just feel better and not with the motivation of this has to be perfect, I think you just enjoy the job you're doing. I'm using my leaf blower today, but I quite enjoy just sweeping the path. There is nothing more satisfying than sweeping your path and having the driveway looking clean, even if it's only for an hour. I'm just after noticing, and I thought I had killed my little eucalyptus twig. A couple of weeks ago I noticed, hang on, I'm just going to, okay, that's better. I noticed that the eucalyptus was going brown, and I was like, oh no, I've killed it. Good job I didn't do anything, because then I noticed there's all this new growth down here, which smells really, really nice. But then I noticed on the twig, you'll see it's still green. There's life inside, but there's all these little side shoots growing, and it's coming on, like it's flying on in the last, I'm going to say, week or so. There's all this new growth. So that must be, I don't know, that must be what happens. So yeah, I've noticed there's a bit of brown there. So I don't know if maybe I should, and do you know what I need to do? I need to go and Google what to do with it. But yeah, I have trimmed that before. So I wonder, yeah, this is all dead foliage up here, but it's after rejuvenating itself. You can see on this twig that there's all new pieces. So yeah, I need to go and have a look and see. I imagine I just trim this top piece off, or just cut off the edges. Miss Billy is also running around. She has figured out how to jump up on the hop bin, and she jumps up onto the wall and she creeps on people the other side. She doesn't jump over, she'll come back, but this is her new thing. She is the ultimate nosy neighbour. She's quite timid, as in she likes to creep on people, but if they come near her, she runs back. So yeah, that's her. And then I think Mr. Bon, oh, he's also been a nosy neighbour. He is creeping on the house behind, and they have a dog. I actually think they have 2 dogs. So he doesn't dare go in there, but he does like to creep on them and have a little look. So that's what he's doing. I was hoping, I got a bit optimistic for a bit of blue sky, but it looks like it's that kind of grey. I thought there was a hint of blue, but no, I think it might actually rain. So there is just one tree left to kind of get rid of the last of the leaves, and then the rest of them are pretty bare now. So I've just popped down, and the bees in the nuke. So you would have saw I shared these right about October time. They are really active today, and if you look closely, you'll see some of them going in with pollen baskets on the back leg. Only a few of them. So they're probably foraging the ivy. There's a few things in bloom, but I think it is mostly ivy that they're bringing in. Around about mid-November, kind of that's all there is to forage. Maybe a few little flowers, hellebores maybe, but very active because it's mild today. It is currently 15 degrees according to my phone. So they went through a bag of feed. So I'm going to give them another one, but I'm also going to test the weight. When I tested it the last time, it was light, and they went through the food quite quickly, so that indicates to me that they are hungry. My camera is on an odd angle, but yeah, it's not too light, and the bag on top is empty, so I'm gonna have to give them some food. And then the hive over here is really, really active as well. I'm not in a bee suit, so I have to be careful. There's a couple flying around me, but so you can see that these ones are really active and they're just flying around me nice and peaceful. So again, today it is mild. Oh, actually there's one there. Do you see the big pollen basket on his back legs? So yeah, there is some ivy still in flower, so I'm gonna just assume. Now I've just noticed as well, cheeky little wasp hanging around, and normally this time of year the wasps will be gone, but no. So these ones as well, they had a bit more food than the other ones, but they did go through their bag of feed, so I'm going to give them some food. And when I did a heft test, which is when you just test the weight, it was on the light side and they ate the bag of food that I gave them. So look how active they are. Definitely because the weather is mild, and they're probably going to need more food because they're using more energy because the weather is mild and they're going out and about and doing their bits, and there is some still foraging, so I better give them some extra food. So I know I look a bit ridiculous with the hive over here because it's a bit more active. Now it does have a perspex crown board on it, so we can have a look inside without opening the hive. Well, but because the bees are a bit more active today, I went back to the car and I thought it would be sensible to put my bee suit on, because even though I was just swapping out the sugar, I hate when they buzz around your hair because you're like, oh no. And if one bee stings, it gives off a pheromone to the rest of the bees to come and get you and sting your ass. So today was not the day I wanted to be stung. Also, my little if you see me filming, I have this little magnetic clip thing for my phone, so that is, if you're wondering how I get those hands-free shots, I got this nifty little doodah. Anyway, I'm going to feed the green hive, which is my original hive, and they've been really strong since they requeened themselves back in June, and yeah, they were strength on strength, so I'm hoping both of them survive the winter. And I mean, I'm filming this in November, so mid-November it's showing signs, but obviously we've got December, January, February, March, and it could obviously be, there could be frost and snow and stuff, so obviously we can't predict the weather, so we will take the mild weather while it's here. So I don't know if you can see, I'm going to try and get the light, hang on. but one of the great things about having the clear board is I can see in. So there's lots of activity in there. There's loads of them over here. You see? And it means I can have a look inside without affecting the temperature on the inside. If it was, so today is currently 15 degrees. It's also warm at night. I would not lift this off if it was any colder. So in winter, I wouldn't do this because I wouldn't want them to I wouldn't want the temperature to drop, because then they have to work harder to keep it warm. So I'm going to come around here because this time of year as well, they huddle in the middle. Hang on, I'm sorry. It's quite hard to film. So you can see there's lots of propolis. Okay, it's now 1 minute to open. I am going to put the roof on. So yeah, they have a nice big bag of food, and hopefully that'll get them maybe a month. But because they ate the previous bag so quick, I will have to just come back and check, and all I have to do is lift the lid a tiny bit, see they have food, and close it. I probably should have hefted this before strapping it up, but let's see. Hang on, everything is sticky. Oh, not too bad. Well, obviously, I'm after giving them a 2.5 kilo. I probably should have hefted this before I put the bag of food in, but it's not dreadfully light, so that's okay. And also, you can take the floor out and clean it. So obviously the entrance is here, so there's a lot of activity. So I'm going to so when you check this the next time, if you can see where the bees are most active, so if there's a lot of debris and bits here, it means that they're in the middle and they've huddled. So you can see there's a lot like at the entrance. Now obviously clean it with a brush. I don't have my bee brush to hand, but that's something I read in the book to do in winter. So I'm going to pop that back in. In October, I said I was taping up the sides to stop the drafty wafties getting in. It did absolutely nothing. It blew away. So when I was in B&Q getting paneling, I did see that they had corner pieces of wood trim. So I think what I'm going to do is put corner trims on, and then that way I can like unscrew it if I need to dismantle the hive, and it will stop the drafts getting in. So it's like an L piece of molding. So let me take all of my bits of plastic with me. Another winter job, well, a job you should probably do ongoing, is, you can probably see that my gloves are absolutely filthy. So these are, I put them in, sorry, I'm out of breath because I was hefting. Yeah, it's good practice obviously to, when you're trying not to spread disease with your bees, is to clean your tools. But anyone who's a beekeeper knows how icky and sticky things get. So I'm going to wash my bee suit and my gloves, and I use a separate pair of gloves for when I help at the other apiary, so as not to bring any disease to my own bees or bring a disease from my bees to their bees. All of the bees down at the other apiary are Apis mellifera mellifera as well, so they're the native Irish bee, and the girls that I have here are the native Irish honeybee, so Apis mellifera mellifera. And both of the hives that I have are really good tempered at the moment anyway. Very active today, which is just great to see. And then the hives down at the other apiary, I actually haven't been down in the other apiary since they kind of finished up for the winter. So I've just been checking in on my own girls. So yeah, it's good practice to not use the same equipment in different apiaries, because you don't want to bring disease. So I'm going to have a cup of tea now. The girls are good. Actually, I left plastic wrapper over here, and also it's good practice as well to take. So see these baggies, the wasps will smell even the remnant of the feed on that, and I don't want to. I'm surprised there's actually still a lot of wasps going around. Anyway, I'm going to have some tea. Now it is time to plant some tulips. So I got some tulips from the Mr. Middleton shop when I was in town. I got tulip sweet impression. Can't remember what that looks like. I think it's a double. Then yeah, these are doubles. I got tulip dreamer. So that is a double head. And I did get Angelique. Where's Angelique? There's Angelique. Oh, I got 20 of them. I have a big pot. So I'm going to do the tulips. Do not worry if you are behind planting tulips, because tulips, they actually need a bit of cold to get activated. And I've often done tulips in December, sometimes even in early January, when I come across a bag of bulbs that I have forgotten to plant. So don't worry if you do stumble across a bag of tulips. I've decided to do some double-headed tulips, which are really pretty and they kind of look like peonies. So if you struggle to grow peonies or get them to flower, these tulips are a bit of a dupe, and they're also really easy to grow. I have this lovely terracotta pot that had some random plants in it. There was actually some cuttings. There's some achillea cuttings. It's just a pot of randomness. So I'm going to take out the other plants that were in it, and I'll pot them up, and I'm going to do loads of tulips in this one. When it comes to pots, I pack them in. Once the bulbs aren't touching each other, you can pack them in, and you can also layer them as well. So if you want to do one layer of bulbs, add some compost and then do another layer. When planting tulips, I try to plant them as deep as possible. I honestly don't know why. I just hear everybody on the telly saying plant them as deep as possible. Another thing that is recommended when it comes to tulips, because they absolutely hate sitting in any dampness. So it's recommended to have really gritty soil. So you can mix in some perlite, which I didn't have to hand. And I really didn't want to go to the garden centre because I would end up buying stuff that I don't need. So you can mix that in, and then you can top dress the pot, which I didn't do. So you can add some grit or stones to the top, and this just helps the soil to not crust over. So I don't know if you ever notice that sometimes the top bit of soil can get a bit kind of crummy or crusty. This can stop some of the bulbs being able to push through. So you can do a layer on top to prevent that, and it also looks pretty. Also, this gives me joy. Look at this. I cannot remember what these are. I think they might be muscari. There's a little bulb there. Are they crocus? I actually have no clue. But I'll actually give them a little bit of compost. Yeah, I love seeing those little shoots. Even out the compost a little bit. I know bulbs can shift, so if they want to be, like, they move up and down. Not drastically, but okay. I'm going to put this where I can see it from the window, and I can see it coming into blossom. You can also pop in a few winter pansies or violas, so some bedding plants into the top of the pot. So obviously the pot is going to look a bit empty looking until springtime comes. But actually I saw in the last episode of Gardener's World this season that Monty Don put wallflowers on top of, he did a large tulip pot and he did wallflowers on top. And they do really well for some reason in my garden. I have them in the front and they really do flower for ages. So I kind of regret not going to the garden centre because I could possibly have picked some up. I hope you enjoyed the variety that was in today's video. So little bit of getting some mental healing from the garden, visiting the bees, and a little bit of planting. So like I said earlier in the video, just give yourself some grace. I think that word might be my word for next year. So my word for 2025, just give ourselves and each other a little bit of grace. Don't forget, if you want to check out any of the other garden videos, check out the cottage garden playlist. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Glad you stumbled across the channel. Say hello. We have a lovely comment section, a lovely community. So feel free to share any garden bits that you're getting up to at the minute, any project. Don't forget to give this video a cheeky thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.